This is Michael Tucker, and you're watching the new Legends on Deck podcast with host Brian Koss and David Conde.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, let's go, baby. Keep going. Let's go, Will. Let's go, Will. Hoisted up on that thing. Let's go. Does that kid play on your team? Oh, you got that all year now. You're on time. We're just underneath it. You know what I mean? Just that first movement is what's doing it. We're losing the barrel with that first movement of the hands. Make sure we don't lose it, all right? Come on. Gotta go. I got one down. Make sure we know where our outfitters are at, because this guy here is playing really, really shallow. So know if he's turning, you're just going to come with me. Okay? Probably middle's going to be back. Okay? So in that case, we're hard on a ground ball because there's forces everywhere. But if we know where our middle infielders are, we're going to know if the ball's hit up the middle that we're going to have it. We're going to know all those things. Okay? So make sure we know where all the middle guys are located and where the outfielders are at.
Welcome to episode 14 of the Legends on Deck podcast. I am Brian Koss, here with our co-founder, David Conde. And special guest today is Coach Eric Lassiter. Eric is associated with, he's a co-founder of Power Baseball, head coach at Windermere High School. If you're not familiar with Windermere High School, it's west of Orlando, right in my neighborhood. Right down it's my neighboring high school now. We're rezoned. And then he was recently named director of membership for the Diamond Allegiance. And he's going to tell us about all these things today. So he's been dedicated to helping young ball players find new opportunities in the game, recruiting, and of course, development, and has been named the two-time Coach of the Year here in 2022 for his success with the young Windermere program. So Eric, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. We continue this trend every week, as it seems like me and Brian keep getting shows out of just getting the baseball stories out there. Like initially, everyone's covering the minor leagues and the pro ball, but not many people are really covering the high school level, the training level, all that, this type of amateur level, and if anything else, Legends on Deck, right? It's the next star in the game. He can be in Little League, he can be in travel ball, high school, whatever it is. And we want to kind of get these stories out there. So we welcome you. Thank you for coming on to the show. So to get started a little bit, we want to know a little bit about your background in baseball. Where did it start? How did it evolve? And then how did you end up on the coaching side of the game?
So early age stuff. I grew up in Apopka, played, Little League, or it was pony baseball that I played. It was kind of Little League, but you could do stuff earlier, lead off, do those kind of things. We got to play with a great group of guys, a whole bunch of us. I think something like 16 of us or something all went on to play college baseball or beyond in that age group with us. Was coached by some pretty big names. It's Frank Viola and Sal Butera were two of our Little League coaches when they were able to be there, obviously with their busy schedules in pro ball, but really just found a passion for it then at that age. And it was just something I never really put down. I played basketball growing up as well. But it's pretty easy when you're a 6'3" left-handed pitcher or a 6'3", white shooting guard. The option is usually going to be to go be a left-handed pitcher. So I did that, went on to play at Apopka High School, for a legendary coach in the area named Sonny Wise. Even developed that passion even more, really kind of found the inside part of baseball outside of the athleticism and what you're good at, that heart and tenacity to really want to win. And that's something that he instilled in me. I kind of knew I wanted to coach then. I didn't know when that was going to happen, but I could see that happening already at that age, early on in high school, just with his influence. And then I went on to play at a small Division II school called Davis and Elkins College. I pitched there all 4 years. my coach there, obviously it's a small school, small budget. So at times he would have to go do something with some other guys, and I would kind of take on with some of the, the freshmen when I was older and work with them on mechanics and things like that whenever coach was busy. So I guess I kind of started feeling that feel of like, man, I really like this. That's when I actually got to feel it, and do that. As soon as I got done playing, I got offered a chance to coach with another legendary college coach in the state of West Virginia, Randy Tenney. Right after I got done, I took a job there and was the pitching coach for 5 years, and recruited a bunch of Florida kids. It was fun. We won a lot of games there. Decided it was time for me to move back home and, kind of settle down with my family. The college coaching life, you kind of have to bounce around wherever the next big job is. And I didn't really want to put my future wife through that. So I decided to get into high school because I wanted to impact, kids and help them get better and see their dreams come true and play college baseball and beyond. Was lucky enough to get the head coaching job at Tavares High School right after I left Wesleyan for 1 year, and then was offered the job to be the head coach at my alma mater at Apopka, where I coached there for 6 years. We kind of rebuilt the program back, and I just stole some of the foundation that Coach Wise did because we were really good there. Obviously had great players like Zach Greinke and stuff on that roster when I played. So I knew what the heartbeat had to feel like at Apopka. We kind of built from there after a couple tough seasons before I got there, and got that thing running. Won a lot of games, went to regional finals, and then our principal decided to go and take the job at Windermere and open the school. And anybody who coaches high school athletics knows it's really important to have a good support staff, starting with the principal all the way down to the athletic director. And so when him and our athletic director decided to move, to me, it was a no-brainer to open up a school in a baseball-rich town like Windermere, and have the backing of two people that I've worked with for 6 years at the time and had a great relationship with. So kind of ended up there, and that's where where I kind of am still, and then developed the travel baseball scene and all that stuff afterwards.
That's a large resume.
Yeah.
How old are you again?
Yeah, I'm actually 38, so I feel like I've done a lot in a little amount of time so far, but still a lot more to do.
Awesome.
Absolutely. So tell us. So we mentioned Windermere High School. You opened a program in 2017, which is 5 years ago.
Yeah.
As you said, it's a baseball-rich area. West Orange High School had been the relief school for West Orange. West Orange had a long history of good baseball programs as well. And then you come in, and you guys, we'll refer and link back to the article that I wrote about you a couple of months ago. But you could recap some of the successes you've had so far with that program, and then what you think those key factors are in the success that program's had.
Yeah, I mean, the key, obviously, like you said, I mean, you can't be a great coach if you don't have great players. Anybody who says something otherwise is not telling the truth. So it started with great players. Now, we didn't necessarily have the discipline. I think that first year we had 2 kids with varsity experience, and they were on the mound. So for the most part, everybody was walking into this with 0 varsity experience, even though they were coming from a great school at like West Orange. So the speed of the game and some of those things they were not used to yet. And coincidentally, I got all of them from Jesse Marlowe, who was the head coach at the time at West Orange. He's one of my partners at Power. So there was a connection there once all that happened. So I did know about a lot of the kids with the rivalry of us playing them at Apopka. But really, it was just getting them to buy into our culture. The good news is they saw us at Apopka and they saw us win. So it wasn't like we had to go and, sell air to these kids about what it's going to take to win. They saw us do it. And to their credit, they bought in immediately. In the last 5 years, we've been to 2 regional finals, a couple outs away from going to the Final Four in both of those. And I think at one point we won 20 straight district games the first 2 years. I don't think we lost a district game the first 2 or 3 years. I can't remember at this point, but it was a lot of them.
Yeah. Well, it's a rare thing for a new program. So there's definitely some good things going on there.
Yeah, now it's great because now some of that stuff's behind us. The cool stuff of being able to help with the, designing some of the stuff that happens on the field, with the windscreen and things like that. But the culture now is kind of, to our players' credit, is something that they've kind of developed and loved. And now it's just them handing it down. It's a lot less of coach influence, and now it's a lot more player influence, which I think is the key. If all the better teams I've been on, my best players were the ones that were carrying the bags, picking up the stuff late, staying extra, and really funneling that down to the younger guys. And that's the case with what we got going on now. So it's exciting to see.
And is Bryce Hubbard your first draft pick out of there?
He is. He was our first draft pick out of there this year by the Reds. He's actually in Daytona, so I'm waiting for him to text me when his first outing will be at home so that I can get to that since he's so close now.
Oh, good. Yeah, we'll have to.
So really excited for that. Hopefully we have another one here this year coming up with Carson Montgomery, whatever he decides to do. Obviously, we'll support him there, but he's got a real chance to be number 2 off the board for our short-lived program.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So I'm a coach, but I coach the lower level. I love, obviously I have kids, so that's when you get involved in it when you have a kid. Do you have any kids baseball age? Any boys?
I have a 5-year-old daughter. Actually, she does not play baseball or softball. She goes golfing with me all the time. We play as many holes as we can. I just want her to have fun so she enjoys it, and the competitive part can come later. But she's really taking to soccer, so I go there and I act like I know what's going on, but all I really know what to tell her is to play hard, hustle, and look at your coach when he's talking to you at this point, But she seems to really enjoy it, so we support her in that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Travel baseball program, Power Baseball, for high school age players looking to get recruited for college, drafted MLB team. Is that an accurate description of it?
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially it. The thing that we're kind of known for is, we like to say we do more for most. If you look at our college commitments, it goes from the top teams in the country, the Floridas, the Vanderbilts, the South Carolinas, the Miamis, UCFs, all of those guys are always there. And those are the guys that are easy for us to, kind of help place and help find their right fit. But we take pride in helping everybody throughout our organization. We try to take players that we think can play college baseball at some level and help them find their fit. And I think that's really where we found our niche is that, we have 3 owners, not just one. So we spread out the wealth between us and our coaches and really make sure everybody, if you're on, per se, the top team all the way down, you're going to get the same experience with us as far as the work ethic and the level of contact that we make on your behalf.
So how does someone okay, so basically they're already in high school, and is this something that just kind of contact you guys? I mean, do they come from all over the state, all over different areas as well? And it's more of a summer thing, or is it all year round?
Fall and summer is the big time for travel baseball because in the spring they're all playing high school at that time. So fall and summer and they still play fall with their high school, but it's almost all weekends in the fall so that they can do both. But those are the 2 big times, and we have tryouts for each. So we actually just got done with our fall tryouts a couple weeks ago, and we start that up in a couple weeks or next weekend actually is our first round of tournaments with some of our teams. And then we have another tryout for the summer in January, about 2 weeks before the high school season starts. So everybody's arms back in shape. They've taken time off from the fall. They're ready to go because they're getting prepared for high school. So it limits the injuries and stuff. So we have that tryout about 2 weeks prior to high school tryouts. So yeah, we have to be right because sometimes we're picking kids before they even go into a high school season. We just have a 9th grade team and we're picking teams and they haven't even tried out for their high school yet. So it's a big task to do, but we have a great staff of really some of the best baseball coaches in high school in the area. We got them from Seminole County, all the way up Orange County, all the way up to North Marion. So it's kind of all over. And yeah, the players for the most part come from about 95% of them come from Central Florida. But we've gone all the way down to Miami, Naples, Panhandle, into Thomas, Georgia. We've had some players there. So pretty much the whole state is what we utilize to fill our rosters. But for the core, it's pretty much Central Florida.
Now, can you tell me how many players do you see in a full season? Like this past summer, how many players do you have running through your program?
With our program, around 200 to 250 is probably what we're looking at, is trying to keep. So 3 to 4 teams at each age group. It goes basically by the grad class. So 3 grad classes, 4 teams at each age group. And then they kind of go all over the country and play with our coaches.
Also, they travel. It's not just traveling in Florida. You're traveling to tournaments around the whole country.
Yeah, we've gone to California before for some big events. Arizona. We've not gone to California yet. Arizona for a big perfect game event. Atlanta, South Carolina, mostly in the Southeast, but some of our teams go to Boston. some of our kids who are good fits for some of the schools up in the Northeast, maybe Division I's up there, or Division I's. A lot of Division III schools in the Northeast compared to Southeast. So some of our guys, even if it costs us a little bit more money, we want to get them in front of people that are going to want to recruit them. So we go there. We've gone to Missouri. Really, wherever the coaches are going to be is where we send our kids.
And then you mentioned perfect game. Is it always a perfect game tournament, or is it just any tournament you feel like where they can get looked at?
Any tournament where we know there's going to be guys, obviously they have a big stranglehold on a lot of what goes on because of the job that they do. But Prospect Select does a really good job. PBR does a really good job. So there's several that you can kind of choose from and filter through. And we pretty much send them to all three of those. Those are the main big boys in the Southeast, at least. And each one kind of has their own premier events that are important to go to. So we kind of spread the wealth throughout those three for the most part.
I'll say that, being at the high school level, once they reach a certain age, there's nothing left other than, if you don't make the high school team, there's pretty much just travel. There's not much anything left other than that. I mean, I think Babe Ruth goes up to like 16 years old, and then after that, there's nothing left for guys to do. So it's good to have programs to kind of say, hey, you might not make the high school team for so many different reasons, but then there's probably another option to keep playing so they don't kind of like just quit.
Yeah, exactly. And for us, just where we're at, it's probably hard for that kid to make one of our teams, but that's the best thing about travel ball is the range of talent varies, and there's tournaments for everybody. Whether you're a kid that maybe didn't make the team and needs to get a lot better or needs to improve, there's teams for you to go do that and still be able to play live games and get those live game reps. So it really is available for everybody if you want to continue to try to play and see how far it can take you.
Kind of to lead in on some of what we talked about with the recruiting side of things, right? You're getting these guys in tournaments, you're getting them in front of scouts, in front of colleges that are looking. One of the things that's kind of a blind spot for us is like where, obviously your top, your slam dunk top level players are going to probably be recruited primarily by the D1 schools. But there are a lot of players in Florida, especially, and in certain states where the junior college is like a legitimate option for them. It's very competitive baseball.
Absolutely.
Why would a player choose maybe a junior college versus playing at maybe getting on a D2 or a D3 school roster?
Well, maybe there's several things that all kind of plays into the individual, but sure. if you're maybe super toolsy and just haven't been able to connect yet in a game, mm-hmm. and that might be a Division II school that's going to be willing to take the chance and spend some money on you because you're not necessarily right yet. But you could go to a junior college in that sense, one that develops players, which there's several of those in Florida for sure, and possibly come out of there with those, with all those measurements, actually playing live in a game now, and then go somewhere bigger than that. I think junior college, to be honest, is going to get a little bit of a hit here with the COVID stuff, because I think a lot of players are going to maybe go in the transfer portal, because a lot of these players now can go to mid-major Division I's or even Division II's if they have a breakout year there. And they're at a place where they don't have to go find a new spot, right? If you're at a really good Division II school, which some of those schools can beat Division I schools, but if you're at one of those schools, you're there for 4 years. Like you're not going to have to look for another place to go. At junior college, you're going to have to find a place after that.
Right.
So the comfort of going to one of those, knowing if you can be there for 4 years, or now, hey, you all of a sudden throw a 95 on the mound, and next thing you know, University of Florida or Florida State wants you, then. So now those options that used to just be for junior colleges are almost for everybody. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. I hope junior college still serves a big purpose, because I think there is still a reason for it. And you see guys like Chipola and even some locally here that, they got 2 years worth of kids, and they can hang with most Division I programs.
Yeah. I think Chipola had like 2 or 3 draft picks coming out of there. So
yeah, and that dropped a little bit the last 2 years with the draft. They used to be a lot more heavy in junior colleges, but that dropped off the last 2 years if you track it like I do, just because,
sure,
like I said, some of those numbers kind of holding off and going other places. But I think it's still going to be very big, especially some of those guys who know they're a draft pick. Maybe don't want to commit to a 4-year school because they got to stay for 3 years, or be age draft eligible, and go there for 1 or 2 years and have the option to get drafted. So that's another big reason why you would go to a junior college. You don't have to commit to 3 years of school. You can get drafted year 1 or year 2.
Sure. No, that clears it up. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I'm a lot older in age than the both of you. So I think when I was
Well,
young playing
I
ball,
found out we're the same age. Eric and I are the same age.
so there wasn't that. There's so many levels. It's just like the major league team. There's so many levels in the pro ball, and there's so many levels just to get to pro ball, and what kids can play, and it's just options, which is a good thing, I guess. So it's kind of like the door's not shut on just any kid, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You want so basically, I have a question. Where I think some people think the same way sometimes when it comes to travel ball. You have travel ball, you have rec baseball. So there's a difference. I mean, there's some kids that can come out of rec baseball and never play travel because maybe their parents just couldn't afford it. They couldn't afford the cost and the traveling, but the kids are good enough. But then, how do kids like that get looked at when they can't really afford the travel ball cost of it?
Well, unfortunately, I know we're going to talk about the Diamond Allegiance here later, but we're going to have some options here soon with that. But really, right now, unfortunately, you got to have a good high school coach because most of the good high school coaches are still connected. It's just the problem is now there's so much money in college baseball and so much has to win right now that these guys can't afford to send their assistants out in the middle of their season like they used to. It's not like some of these other sports where the high school season's at a different time as the college season. They're at the same exact time right now. So for them to be able to get out and see them, it's just really hard. And that's kind of, really the purpose of what started the idea of the Diamond Allegiance from our owner, Sandy Ogg, is, there's a lot of kids that would have a potential to go to college that might not simply because they don't have the money. And he doesn't agree with that. He started a foundation that basically funded a team from the Bronx and his son played on it. And I think he has somewhere of 20 kids right now playing college baseball that were paid for through that foundation and that team. And that's where his wheels kind of got turning. He's like, well, what if we go to these elite teams where some of these kids could possibly play? We find a way to essentially, help with cost savings on parents. Also similar to private schools, right? There are a lot of kids that don't have a lot of money that can still get into private schools. You fill out a financial aid form, it spits out what they're capable of paying. So we're starting a program like that as well within all of our teams that are in the Diamond Allegiance, where these parents, through our personal foundation at Power, through the Diamond Allegiance one as well, and through other means, we'll be able to have that same kind of stuff. So parents will fill out a financial aid agreement. It says, hey, it's $2,400 to play in this season. We can give them $1,800, and this is all they're going to owe, or whatever the case comes back when they fill that paperwork out. So I think that's going to be a huge thing, and it's really to help those kids, like you said, because there's a lot of them that are talented enough, but unfortunately the way the game is gone is you almost have to play travel baseball to really be visible to these guys or have a great high school coach, which happens, and there's a lot of those in Orlando as well. But again, it's still slimmer pickings if you're not able to get out there in front of somebody on a weekend basis. These college coaches go to Atlanta, 464 teams in the one that we were in, and they can go watch one guy take 20 at bats in 4 days. And so it's really hard to match that as far as their evaluations, because they have to be right, because they're making a lot of money to be right. So that's kind of where this kind of filter down effect has happened. And we're hoping that we're going to be able to change some of that with the Diamond Allegiance.
Well, that's a good point with at least doing some program like that. Because like I said, I coached many years, the younger age. And, you get the thought process at the younger age, oh, they're not playing travel, they're not going anywhere. So you get kids always get pushed away from that. Parents get pushed away. And I always tell the parents, listen, until you get to high school, just let them play. Get the reps, start playing, just keep playing, let them love the game, get the good, they could get training on the side I know pro guys like Michael Tucker, one of the guys I know down here, or Milt Collar that's played with the Tigers. They'll train the kids, and it's not as expensive. And then maybe
Ricky Weeks does a lot of great stuff in Orlando too. He has several camps in I think it's through called MLB Pipeline or something. The MLB has really done a nice job starting an outreach program for, not just minorities, but people in general, anybody who can't afford it. I know that Pipeline is obviously to get minorities to play, get in the game, but it's really for anybody who can't afford it as well, and they've done a really nice job doing that.
Yep. And what you're doing is great. I think the financial part of it is awesome. I think that's really going to open the door for a lot of people. They get the perception of, oh, I can't do this. Well, maybe you can. Maybe you can be in that position to join your program, if and get on it. And maybe that kid makes it to the point like, wow, look at this kid that came through here and we got him in. It's not always a perception that you have to have the money,
Yeah. And look, I'll be honest, not just my organization, most of the good organizations in Orlando, we all scholarship players, but and help guys out before this. It's just out of our pocket, which obviously doesn't help continue to do that,
Exactly.
And it's usually the better players that can't afford it that you help, and that's the unfortunate thing, which that's where I think really being able to fill out a piece of paper and, like you would to go to school, and really being able to find out who can afford it and who can't, filters out some of those people who may try to just tell you they can't afford it because they know their son's really good, and also the ones that just can't afford it, whether they're on the top team or on the third or fourth team. They all need the help if we're able. And I think that's kind of the key, because right now the rich are kind of getting richer when it comes to who's not paying and who's paying for travel ball.
And one thing you said too, which is key, high school coach. That is the most important thing, to have a high school coach that cares not about winning. Like, you all want to win, but cares about developing the ball players to say, hey, these kids went on to the next level. I coached these kids and they went on. Because I out of experience, I mean, my son played high school ball down here, and himself, he didn't just have the great experience that he thought he was gonna have. My brother played high school basketball for 4 years up in Ocala and had a horrible coach. My brother was probably the best kid on the court. And after that season, he hated it, didn't want to do it anymore. Like, oh my God, such wasted talent. So it's very important to have someone in that field that really cares about developing, not just, a band on the wall or something.
Well, I mean, the main thing, and this is why we go after those high school coaches that do care and try to get them to coach for us for power, because even the travel baseball, where we might be as connected to their academics on a daily basis, we know what they are, because that's going to help them get recruited or find fits for them, but we're not in it every day. Those high school coaches, I mean, I'm just as proud as my guys that are lawyers and doctors as I am my guys that are in the big leagues, and if that's not why you're coaching high school baseball, then that's where you see those problems. But, like I said, when I see somebody who just got their medical degree and are, starting becoming a doctor, I'm just as stacked as when I saw Bryce Hubbard was picked in the draft.
Yeah.
And those guys that do that, and there are still a lot of them. It's just unfortunate that usually the only stories you hear are the bad ones, like you said, and because there's just a lot of them. But there's a lot of guys still doing it for the right reasons, and that's to make great human beings, not just baseball players. And when you have that thought behind it, then usually the baseball product works out itself as well.
Yeah, I agree. And just put it out there, my son played high school. I never thought that he should go play anywhere else. He actually transitioned to wrestling. And he called me up and said, Dad, I want to wrestle. I don't really want to play baseball. My heart sank. And I'm going to tell you, 2 years into wrestling, he's probably going to try to go to states this year. And I'm like pushing him. Oh, forget about baseball. This is, he's bulking up, and this is wrestling is good. So,
like you said, that's the great thing about high school sports, just because it doesn't work out in one, you have the opportunity to play another. And, sometimes those end up being your key to success moving forward, or that college scholarship that you thought was gone when you decided to quit baseball or quit wrestling or quit whatever it was. And that's why I'm still a part of it. No longer teaching just because I just don't have the time to do it anymore. But I have great assistants who are on campus, and we're still keeping track of all the academic stuff and all that stuff. But it's a really important time. That's why when people, don't play high school baseball, or they don't, they just want to play travel baseball, you're missing a huge experience to grow up and take some more failure. And the more failure you can get at a young age, the better, in my opinion. And in baseball, it's a great place because you can fail a lot and still be pretty good.
Well, you make a good point with that. It's just also finding that right program. And I mean, Orlando seems to have all the great programs. I'm all in the Southwest, close to Naples. I'm in Fort Myers, Cape Coral area.
Okay.
So it's just finding a program like that really is believing behind the kids and wanting them to be successful, not just, like I said, play a bunch of games in a weekend and then just get, the trophy and move on. You want to see success come out of the program. So I see what you're doing is really good for kids. So I might have to move to Orlando now for my younger one.
Hey, we got some kids from out your way. We have a couple really good players from Canterbury.
Okay.
We've had some from Barron Collier out that way. So, like I said, it's easy. You don't practice a whole lot once the travel season comes. You find a good high school, they do it because we're gone every other week or every weekend.
Yeah.
So there's not time to do it. So our kids kind of, like I said, we filter through. We have them there that whole week. And the one thing that we also do different with power is we don't just kind of roll them out, stretch, and play like we always do. The ground balls pregame, we throw BP. Our guys are doing their PFP work before games. So it's really about development, not just rolling out baseballs. And you get a tendency to really roll out the baseballs when you got so many teams and so many things going on, and we try to make sure that our foundation doesn't change no matter how big we get.
Awesome. Good.
That's important. Just we already kind of got into sort of the meat of what the Diamond Allegiance does, right? So there may be some more functions you could tell us about, but so you're now the director of membership with Diamond Allegiance, and tell us a little bit more about like what your role is with the organization, and then you mentioned the scholarship side and the money side of things, and then just kind of all the things that the organization does.
Yeah, it's basically what we're trying to form is almost like what the NFL does with their ownership. The owners as a whole kind of come up and make the decisions, and then obviously Roger Goodell can do his thing and change his mind and all that. But we're kicking Roger Goodell out and just having the owner side basically. So we're trying to put some of the most elite teams from the country all in one group. Kind of have our owners discuss things that we want to do moving forward to kind of help the game grow in the right way, in a player development way, not just in a stealing money way or whatever the case may be that people think about travel baseball.
Sure.
So we really want to turn that upside down. We have a great app. It's actually called Curve. Each team gets an individualized app for their team. So ours on the App Store says Power Baseball. Team Elite in Georgia says Team Elite. Garcia Parra's out in California says GBG. And that's all player development stuff that's done. The baby of basically Eric Bakich, who's now the head coach at South Carolina. He was able to do all these things, test all this stuff while he was at Michigan. Came up with this format to basically test kids in their mobility, all through AI. We're the first to market with artificial intelligence to test your mobility. So they're going to test their mobility. It's going to spit out individualized exercises by if you pass or fail. You get a score, and you can improve that score. So your parents, your coaches can track your data, see your growth, see if you're really working. And it goes all the way to hit data, bat off the ball, your mind. It's going to be basically a full app, communication, all of that stuff on that side. Then obviously the player assistance program, we're partnering with some companies where they basically get money back towards the organization. It gets credited by everyday spending. Say they go to Home Depot, Lowe's, any of that, buy something, they get 8% back that day. It goes into one big bucket. The coaches receive that and divvy it back out because it tells what players' families spent which money. So everyday savings gets kicked back right into their fees, essentially, on top of the scholarship if they want to take part in that. It's fully optional. If somebody has the money and they say, we just want to pay, we don't want to do that, they can do that as well. So that's kind of the basis of it. But like I said, it was founded by Sandy Hogg through that organization. So throughout all of this, the real way is how can we save money for parents or scholarship players that can't afford it at all? And how do we help these guys run their business, including us at Power Baseball? That's why we're a part of it. We're all baseball guys that fell into a business because we were doing things right. And we found that that's the case most places around the country. So with his help and and the people within the Diamond Allegiance, they offer business help, marketing help, all of those things that help you run your everyday business on top of it. And then within that, we're doing some pop-up tournaments with our board members. We have Kevin O'Sullivan at Florida, Eric Bakich at South Carolina, Pat Tracy at Michigan. Sorry, these guys have moved jobs recently, so I'm making sure I get those right, Pat and Eric. And then we also have Tracy Smith at Michigan. Geez, Pat Casey at Oregon State. There we go. Got that. Go. I apologize to those guys for that one. Trying to make sure I got all the schools right and misspoke. But all those guys are going to have pop-up tournaments at their host fields for some of the teams at free or at minimum cost to help out, obviously, lowering the cost for parents and making sure college coaches are there. So lots of cool things going on with that, and we're just trying to grow it. So my job within that is basically the sales side, meeting with these organizations, the teams, letting them know how we can help as the Diamond Allegiance, help their business, help their families, and help their player development within the app. So my job is to go and find those teams that fit what we're trying to do with player development, player savings, and all that stuff, and then get them to become a part of the Diamond Allegiance so we can grow this thing and make it great.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. That overall improvement. I mean, I watched the videos and stuff, and it just seems like it has the right motives in mind to try to improve the entire process. as we were talking about what you guys do at Power, and then what other people are doing in different organizations, and just giving more kids that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, and we're going to be able to track this. So a kid starts this at 13, you're going to see his data and his growth pattern. And this stuff all comes in a shareable. It's either PDF, you can send it through text, email, the whole nine, right directly to college coaches, their whole profile with all their metrics, data stuff, their SAT scores, their GPAs, all of it in one little card with videos, the whole 9 yards right on top of it. So I think being able to show the growth, and on these things, it shows where they're at in their class. So say the 2024 class, you run a 6.85, that's in the above average range. With your 10-10 splits, you're below average. It's going to give you ways to work, and it shows you where you're at with your graduating class. So it also can give you a reality check. You think you're a Power 5 baseball player, but in the 9 exercises, you were below average in 6 of them. It's probably a sign that you're not a Power 5 guy right now, and you got some work to do. So it helps the coaches not just say what they think the kid needs to do better, right? That's the hardest part when you're talking to a parent who loves their kid. And I have a daughter. I love my daughter, and I understand it. But until you can give me real data, like, why should I believe you? It's not, you're just telling me my kid needs to take ground balls better, or he needs to have better hands, he needs to get faster. Okay, that's one person saying that. But when we have actual ways to measure this and show somebody, it makes things real. And it's hard to fight that and know where you have to get better instead of making excuses.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So you're saying you can measure, you've got the average, the average is, who's, in different categories, who's got, what the high end of the bell curve is, what the low end, what the median is, so that you can measure each kid basically, or each kid can measure themselves
Exactly.
in against his peers.
Exactly. Through your grad class, because that's how they recruit, right? Their recruiting classes go by whatever grade they're in. So yeah, we are, not me by any means, but the team within GERV has taken in all that data and has basically found a way to get it all formulated. Here's the above average to average, below average to, like, you really need a lot of work by just tracking all that data throughout all these different showcases and all these kids' metrics that have already showed up to kind of show you where you're at.
And have you seen success out of that by showing a kid, this is what you need to work on? Have you seen a kid go in and start doing it and come out with success?
We've actually just started the sample size outside of the 5 years that Eric Bakich has been doing it at Michigan, where he formulated this. That's the success that we've seen. But the app actually launches live to our member teams, actually the first of this coming month. So yeah, we're going to be integrating and onboarding teams like crazy here in the next couple of weeks with phase 1, which will be them basically getting all the testing done of their mobility with exercises to go with it, and a body score as to where their body is and what they need to improve. And that will launch, the first of the month, like I said. So we're really, really excited to get this thing off the ground.
So we'll have to get an update on that.
Yeah, my son's in the 7th grade. When should he start this? Trying to get up there?
Yeah, so 13, right now, we are going to come up with one that is for the younger ages, but 13 is kind of the youngest that we want to start, just because the programs lifting-wise, as they start lifting, are not ready yet for younger kids. And the last thing we want is somebody be calling us saying, hey, your app got my kid hurt, So 13 is kind of the age where the body is able to start doing all of the different workouts that this thing randomly splits out depending on what you need. So 13 is the age, and it is going to be available in some other ways outside of the Diamond Allegiance, just with not some of the, the parent savings and some of those things as well, just more of an app for a baseball player to follow. But the full version will have to be with the Diamond Allegiance team.
One more question on that.
Yeah.
So is it geared towards position-wise? Like, my son's a catcher.
Yeah.
So basically, he's going to give himself to kind of prepare him to be better at his position.
Yeah, this stuff is mind-blowing, honestly. Like, when I saw it, this is why I fell in love with it when I was, given the opportunity to come to work for the Diamond Allegiance. It was just a no-brainer. You literally can click, when you fill out your player profile, you just put all your positions, your primary, your secondary, any of those. And not just from us will you be given individualized workouts for that position, which are through, like, our professional guys that do this, like Eric Bakich has come up with the workouts, all those guys. But your organization. So, like, with us, with Power, we have a guy, Nick Barber, who does infield stuff. He played at ECU. He played for me at Apopka, who now works for us at Power. He could get on as our infield coach, get a set of our three non-negotiable infield drills. Every infielder needs to do these no matter what. He can produce those videos, send them, just click infield, and every infielder in our program will get those daily workouts, and they can change daily. So literally position by position, each organization can put their own stuff in on top of the stuff that we produce for them on Curve, all individualized by position.
Very cool stuff. Yeah, I think we're going to have to get an update from you in a few months on how, kind of the progress on what you guys are seeing with this. And, especially going into like the spring season, and how many teams are, because you all have the fall season now with all these programs out there using this.
Correct. So yeah, we should have, thousands of kids onboarding here in the next couple of weeks. And, as with all apps, I'm sure there will be some bugs and some little things here and there, but that's why we're kind of doing it within the Diamond Allegiance, and we're doing it in phases, release the app. So that's why it's just the mobility stuff in that first phase, so everybody can get that done. And then we'll release the actual, body stuff where you're working out and doing those things. And then the last part that will phase in will be the actual ball metrics. What does the ball do off the bat? What does it do out of the hand? We have arm care programs through Kinetic Pro and some other guys that are real big in baseball that are also within this. So we're really excited. Again, this first phase is super exciting for us because it just makes everything real. Tired of showing people the examples on my phone. I'm just ready for people to start utilizing it.
No doubt about it. Well, Eric, we really appreciate you coming on today. We've talked high school baseball. We've talked travel baseball. We're talking Diamond Allegiance and the new technology. So I was happy we were able to kind of hit all of those things.
Absolutely.
And I'm very serious. We'll definitely be getting back with you in a few months to see, where you guys are with this and how it's how more people can apply it and the success that it's having.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, guys.
All right, then.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for coming on. Episode
14.
Sorry, David. Legends on Deck podcast. Brian Koss, David Conde, Coach Eric Lassiter.